Hey, how you doing? You feeling good this morning? You feeling young and spry? Some of you guys don't even know what that means. Look it up. It's awesome. All right, so we're in this series called Mixtape, and we're talking about things that we need to have on repeat in our life. And one of these things that a lot of us have heard before is how to make sure that you don't quit. That's something that we've talked about before. Another word for that is endurance. How to have endurance. That's really important to kind of nail down in your heart, in your life, because nobody starts something with the idea of, I can't wait to start this and then quit and flame out so awesomely. You know, no one starts a diet and thinks, this is going to be the most epic fail I've ever had. Right? You know, you start a diet and you think, I'm going to look so good. I mean, I'm going to want to take pictures of myself all the time because of how good I'm going to look. And then a week later, you're like, but I love Hostess, so... So we all want endurance, but sometimes we forget how to have that in our life. And I remember, like, I'm even thinking, like, with Watson, like, Jess and I have 2 stories to our house. Before Watson, who cared about going upstairs? After Watson, carrying him a couple times up and down, you're like, you know what, do I really need air and water if it's upstairs? Nah, I'm good. It's too far up there. You know, all of a sudden, the stairs now look like Mount Everest. They were fine before, but now Watson, you're just like, you know what, I could probably just lay down here. Even though the showers are upstairs, I'll just lay in my own filth, and we're fine. You know, because you just start getting tired of going up and down, up and down. Why? Because you had to weight that you weren't used to carrying. And here's the idea. When you have extra weight in your life, your endurance goes way down. When you know, that's why when you look at marathon runners, they look a certain way. You know what I'm talking? People. You know, you don't see, 375 running a marathon going, this is awesome, I do this all the time. You know, just extra weight kind of kills your endurance a little bit. Now, this happens in life. You carry things that you shouldn't carry. And when you start carrying things that you shouldn't carry, you stop things that you shouldn't stop. Because you feel like you don't have the endurance that you used to have. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. You can turn there, or you can read it on the screen. It says this, it says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with what? Endurance. Let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. I want to talk this morning about wait on me. Wait on me. Some of us have some weight that is causing us to quit. Some of you are running a really good race and you've decided to slow down. Some of you were leaders in the kingdom of God, and now you're not because you've lost your endurance, because you've got some weight in your life that you should never carry. Some of you don't even realize that you're in a race and you're running so far away from what God wants you to run to, and you're losing endurance to do the right things at the right time because you got weight in your life. Now listen, there's a difference with this scripture. Look at what it says. It says, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin. Here's the point. There's a difference between weight and sin. Now, some of us are really good at not sinning, but have a lot of weight in our life. I don't do the big sins, but we've got weight. Now, weight can turn into sin when it stops you from doing what God wants you to do. What are some of the weights that we don't talk about as much that really kills our endurance? Well, I'm not talking specifically about a sin. I'm talking about a weight. I'm talking about a thing that causes you to stop running. Psalm 73, verse 2, I want to read about this guy who stopped running. But as for me, I almost lost my footing. My feet were slipping, and I was almost gone, meaning I lost my endurance. My feet were slipping. I was almost gone. For I envied the proud when I saw them prosper despite their wickedness. Oh, now we're getting into it, right? Oh, I saw other people, and they suck, but their life looks awesome. That's the Ben translation that probably shouldn't be read. Verse 4, they seem to live such painless lives. You ever said that before? Look at them. They seem to live such painless lives. Their bodies are so healthy and strong. They eat McDonald's and they don't get fat. It's not fair. Like, what's going on with it? They don't have any troubles like other people. They've not plagued with problems like everyone else. They wear pride like a jeweled necklace and clothe themselves with cruelty. These fat cats have everything their hearts could ever wish for. Have you ever prayed that prayer before? You know, like you just prayed about other people. God, have you seen them? I wish you'd just go Old Testament on their behind and like teach them a lesson. You know, give me the grace, give them the Old Testament. Like, you know, you just look at other people and it just looks like they got easy street where you're just grinding it out every day. Their marriage looks so good. My marriage looks marriagey. Where you just, like, things don't look good. Look, they scoff and speak only evil. In their pride, they seek to crush others. They boast against the very heavens, and their words strut throughout the earth. Now he's like telling God, hey, they're talking about you too. It's not just me. They're talking about you. And so the people are dismayed and confused, drinking in all their words. What does God know, they ask. Does the Most High even know what's happening? Look at these wicked people enjoying a life of ease while their riches multiply. Translation, comparison will kill your endurance. When you're constantly looking at other people and looking at their life and how unfair everything in their life seems to be compared to yours, it's a weight. Remember what he said at verse 2, okay? What did he say? But as for me, I almost lost my footing. My feet were slipping. I almost gone. Why? Comparison. He stopped running his race because he kept looking at other people. The weight of comparison will steal your strength. The weight of comparison will steal your strength. You've got to understand that comparison is a weight you do not want to put on your back when you're trying to run the race that God has for you. Comparison is not something that you need to run a race well. In fact, it will stop you from running well. When you start looking at everybody else, somebody will always have it better when you compare. So let me tell you 3 things that happen with comparison. Number 1, it will discount where you are. You'll say, my place is terrible where I am right now. Verse 2, or the next one, 2, it will highlight an unfair promotion. So you'll look at other people and think, I can't believe they got that. They're terrible. They're the worst people ever. How did they ever get that? And 3, it will encourage you to poke holes in anyone's success. So you'll say, yeah, they're good, but did they really read their Bible like I do? I don't think so. You try to poke holes. And people do this. Great church in our city, Life Church. Do you know that's the largest church in our nation? Amazing, amazing pastor, Pastor Craig O'Shell. Incredible. Do you know that there are churches and people in our city that will be like, yeah, it's big, but that guy is on a screen, so that's not real church. Oh, I'm sorry. Did people get saved in their church? Oh, are you reading YouVersion that is paid for by Life Church and they give it for free? But comparison will make you poke holes in other people's success. Comparison will make you you will always look, oh, how can I knock them down? And you will stop running the race that God has for you because you are so consumed with how everybody else is doing. And how everybody else looks. Comparison will say you should always be further along than you should. You look at your life and comparison always says, well, I should be further along. Why do they have a boyfriend or girlfriend? They're ugly. No one even likes them. They don't bathe regularly. How does anybody want to go on a date with those people? I'm single and I got a good job. I'm nice looking. I go to church and no one wants to date. God, what's wrong with them? They shouldn't. But then all of a sudden you get a girlfriend or a boyfriend and then you think, well, why are they married? Am I unmarriable? Am I the person that's going to just sit here just dating all my life and no one's ever going to ask me to look at those people? They're barely out of diapers. Now they're married. That's not fair. What's the problem? Why are they married and I'm not married? Then you get married and then you think, how did they have a kid and we don't have a kid? We should have a kid. I am amazing. I'm going to be the best parent ever. They're can't even take care of themselves. How do they get a kid and I don't get a kid? Then you get a kid and then you think, well, why do we only have one? They have two. Not fair. You have two kids? That's ridiculous. I only got one and I kind of don't even like this one. Maybe that's why you don't have two, you weirdo. You know, and then you think, well, they have two. Oh my gosh. And then you get two. And then you say, those people, they don't have kids anymore. That's awesome. I got these two freeloaders that will never leave my house. And I'm paying for these leeches. And they don't have anybody in their home. And they're just wild and free. Oh, empty nesters. Let's go on a date. That's not fair at all. And then you get no kids. And then you think, well, I don't got any grandkids. What's wrong? Do you see this? How you constantly keep comparing all the time and nothing is ever okay. It saps your endurance. You stop running. Because everybody else, why did they get a promotion and I didn't? Why did they look so, man, their finances, they look awesome. Look at the house they have and the car they have. Hey, just so you know, you don't know what's going on in their life. Mr. and Mrs. Awesome Car and Awesome House could be up to their eyeballs in debt. But you're like, oh, I want that. No, you don't. But we live our lives comparing our life to everybody else's top slice. And how it all looks real good. I heard a great pastor say this. We compare our behind the scenes to everybody else's highlight reel. And we wonder why there's no joy in our life. We wonder why we're getting tired. We wonder why our foot is slipping. We wonder why we don't run as hard, because comparison is a weight that pulls you down. And it's not just about comparing yourself to people that have it better. What about those that compare themselves and think they are better? Right? This is not for you because you guys are really sweet. I'm talking about the other bad Christians. You know, the people that look towards other people and say, well, I'm at church. Those other people, they barely make it to church. Like once a month, they have like soccer games and stuff. I mean, that is like worshiping the devil. You know, like you start looking at other people. Well, they don't tithe. I know they don't tithe. I do. Look at me. And then all of a sudden, now you're comparing. Listen what happens to you when you start comparing and thinking that you're better. You stop moving forward because you're better. You don't want to get better because you think you are better. And it just stops. All the forward movement in your life stops. Comparison. Comparison will drag you down. Sometimes I think we should sometimes we just need to burn these social media accounts that we have. Because we don't know how to use them. It's like a 4-year-old with a shotgun. Like you guys, can I just talk for a second? There's so much time being spent on these, and I love social media. I think it's great. But then all of a sudden it turns into, well, look at them, and look at me. All of a sudden, sucking all the joy out of your life. Sucking all the running in your life to move forward in what God has for you, because you're stuck on somebody's post, that what they said and how they said it, and that shouldn't ever happen, because I know what they did to me a long time ago, and how they ever should get something like that is beyond me. God, I can't believe this. And all of a sudden you're right back with the psalmist that says, my foot is slipping. I can't move anymore because I envied the proud. Because I kept looking at everybody else. I wonder what would happen if we put our phones away and said, God, I just need to, right now, just have some download time. God, teach me and open up my heart so I can see where I am. I wonder what would happen. And I love social media. I'm not talking, stop it all. No, just learn how to use it. Like, it's just a great tool, but don't let that thing get into your heart. Don't let everybody's posts get in your, some of my favorite posts are when somebody posts, like, all the bad stuff. Like, that makes me love them so much. Because I want to see some real stuff every once in a while. And it just helps, because all of us are going through stuff. Right? Like all of us are going through it. Yeah, we love the baby picture. Like my son, for example. I will say it. He's pretty cute. He is pretty cute. And if you don't like it, that's your opinion, but you're wrong. But anyway, he's pretty cute. But there are moments when he's not cute. There are moments when he's screaming at my face when I am trying to change his diaper and he peed in my mouth. Where was Instagram for that? Right? We've got it all confused. We're comparing our life with everybody else's. Top slides. Let's stop comparing. We're losing our ability to run. We're losing it. Because we see everybody else's life. This is a true story. This happened because here's the thing. What happens when you start worrying about what's going on with everybody else and what's going around everybody else? Something poisonous gets dropped on the inside of you. When you start worrying about what everybody else is going through, something poisonous drops on the inside of you. Look at what happened to the psalmist. Psalm 73, he goes down to verse 21. Then I realized that my heart was bitter. And I was all torn up inside. I love my brother-in-law. He's sitting right here. Where's Pat? There. Pat, I love Pat says this sometimes when somebody gets mad, he'll just say it really loud. He goes, well, you're just bitter. And it stops the person real quick. They're like, no, I'm not. It's just like, you're just bitter. You need to stop that. I love that the psalmist realized, oh no, because of all my comparing, I've realized that now my heart was bitter and I'm all torn up inside. When you start comparing, you realize that poison starts coming into your heart. And now there's a bitter root that's starting to grow. And he said, now I realized my heart was bitter. And I was all torn up inside, and I was so foolish and ignorant, I must have seemed like a senseless animal to you. Running around, trying to feel better by comparing your life to everyone else. Comparison is the main ingredient of bitterness. You run into somebody who's bitter, it's probably because they've been comparing their life to everybody else for a long time. In fact, I was counseling this married couple, well, not in this church, another church, and they were pretty bitter at each other, and it was pretty toxic, and I didn't know if there was going to be a way to reconcile, and so we're talking, and finally we got down to it, and the wife just said, "You know what it's really about?" I was like, "No." You know when you get scared, you're getting yelled at, you know you didn't do anything wrong, but you're scared anyway? And that was that moment. You know, like I just trying to help. And she, "You know what it's really about?" I was like, "What?" She's like, "Well, we were watching Twilight." The movie? With the weird vampires? We were watching Twilight, and I realized that he wouldn't be like they would, and he wouldn't become a vampire for me. What? I was so confused. And then I was thinking, and I said this, you know that's a movie, right? It's not like a documentary. There's no thing as vampires. I don't know what we're talking about right now. I was so confused. But you know what happened? She started comparing her marriage to something that was a movie. And before you get all high and mighty and laugh at her or him, realize that we do this all the time in our marriages too. Come into church when it's all nice and everybody's all sweet and, "Oh, well, wish he would be like that. Wish she would be like that." And then all of a sudden bitterness starts getting in your heart. And you stop running. No endurance left because of a weight that you're carrying that you should never carry. Comparison. You're trying to compare your life. So how do you get the weight off, right? Like if comparison's so bad, how do you get the weight off? It's easy and super hard at the same time. Celebration will lift the weight of comparison. What does that mean? Celebrate the people that you want to compare your life to. Everybody's like, "Oh, bleh. Gross. Why would I ever do that? Can't I just be indifferent? Let me just do that. Let me just not care." No, that's not good enough. That won't help you with comparison. You have to go oppo. You have to go to the opposite way. And so when you see something that you want to compare your life to, what you do instead of like, "Well, how did they do? How did they lose 60 pounds? They eat terrible. You're the first one to say, 'Hey, can I buy you some new clothes?' Wow, way to go. I'm sure that was so hard. Way to go." When you want the promotion at your job and somebody else gets it, you're the first one to go to that other person and say, "Way to go. That's awesome. Just so you know, I'm going to be behind you 1,000%. I'm going to celebrate you." When in your heart, even though you got to say it with your teeth, just, "Way to go on the promotion." Or maybe you should practice because that looks real creepy. Don't do that to anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like when you wanted to get married, you're the one that celebrates the person who got proposed to. When you wanted to have a baby, you're the one that runs to the baby shower and gives the best gift. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you celebrate every chance you have. When you want to compare, you celebrate. Why did they get that? Why did they get it? Doesn't matter. You celebrate. You just get that. What that does, that will kill comparison. Kill it. And I know it's hard. I know, and rather than celebrating, you would rather punch them in the throat. I know that a throat punch sounds awesome. And maybe sometimes deserved. But in the moment that you celebrate somebody that you want to compare your life to, the power that comparison has over your life breaks in that moment. Breaks. It's not over your life anymore. You're not controlled by somebody else. Isn't that great? There's freedom. that comes into your life because you've flipped the script. Now you celebrate. And now people always want to be around you. Listen, it's something so great when you can be known as the person that you want to call first when something good happens in your life. Right? You want to be that friend. You want to be that coworker. You want to be that family member. Be the one that everybody is not scared of when they get something good in their life. They can call you and you'll be like, yeah, baby, fire off the fireworks. That's awesome. You deserved that. We all want to be that because we all love it when it happens to us. Let's be that to people. And also, when you wear the name Christian, follower of Jesus, when you're this person that celebrates everybody else, do you know how open they are to who Jesus is in their life? Because they're like, wow, I don't know about that, but I want that. I want that person because they celebrate me. Wow, they clap. Everybody else is kind of comparing, but they celebrate. I know it's hard. But you realize that this is the person you want to be. Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 and 4, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble. Thinking of others is better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take interest in others too. Celebration will lift that weight of comparison. You know, that's why it's so important as a church that we celebrate, that we encourage, that we encourage and celebrate other churches in our city, and we just don't say it, we actually mean it. Right? Come on, church. We actually mean it. Can I say this too? You can be so planted in our church and love our church and be like, our church is the best thing ever. It is awesome. I love it. This is great. You can be that and celebrate other churches. I think it's so terrible when the only way people can express how good their church is by tearing down other churches. Well, our church is not like, oh, just shut your mouth. Just, no. There's enough of that going around, right? There's enough of everybody showing why, oh, they're bad and this bad. Can we be a church that just celebrate, pick out something? Everybody's got something that they're doing good. Everybody's just trying to do the best they can to move God's kingdom forward. Let's all be together and be the ones. Let's be a church that's being known as we just celebrate every church. We celebrate every one of them because we're all on the same team. Let's celebrate the churches in our city. Let's celebrate the people in our lives. Let's stop comparing and looking and saying, why do they get and why do they got and why? No, I want freedom from bitterness in my heart. And so I'm going to hand clap when I don't want to. And I'm going to give when it feels hard. And I'm going to say the nice thing when I want to say the mean thing. And I want to say the uplifting thing when I want to tear something down. That's the Spirit of God. That's what people are looking for. That's what people need to see. And when you understand that, it gives you, there's a little more ease to celebrating and getting out of the comparison trap. And I know it feels like you're just always controlled by it. By everything you see and everything you hear, people jockeying for position and wanting to be this or that. But comparison loses its control when you realize who is in control.
Yeah. That's right.
You might think that comparison has all the control in your life until you realize who really has control. Yeah. I understand that, but let's go back to the psalmist who was fighting with bitterness and rage and feeling like he just wants to quit. Look at what happens. Psalm 73, verse 23. Yet I still belong to you. You hold my right hand. You guide me with your counsel, leading me to a glorious destiny. Do you know that God's leading you to a glorious destiny? Some of you need to remind yourself of that. Instead of looking at everybody else's destiny, remind yourself that God is leading you toward a glorious destiny. Whom have I in heaven but you? I desire you more than anything on earth. God, there's nothing more than I need than you. I don't need that new house. I don't need the new job. I don't need that kind of money. I don't need that relationship. I don't need that friendship. I don't need, all of those are nice and good. But God, really, when it boils down to it, God, I need you more than all those things. Right? You start realizing who's in control. You start realizing who's in control of your life. Reminding yourself, my health may fail and my spirit may grow weak, but God remains the strength of my heart. He is mine forever. In that moment, God's control of your life takes over. You realize I'm in the palm of God's hand. I don't have to worry about what everybody else is doing. God's got my back, and He's walking in front of me, and He's walking beside me. I can trust in God even when things look dark. I know that though it might be dark, I can still trust His hand as I'm walking through this valley of the shadow of death. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. The control that God has over your life all of a sudden starts killing all the comparison that you want to have and say this person and that person and that person. No, it really doesn't matter what's going on around me. I was thinking through this like with my son. We have an extremely loud family. And like my niece and nephew, they have learned the only way for people to hear you is to scream louder. So that just raised the volume of everything. And so I don't know if you have a loud family or not, but it just kind of, everything kind of gets competing, and there's laughing and yelling and all this stuff, and everybody just, no one, it doesn't matter if you're loud or not because everybody's loud. So my son, though, who's 7 months old, he actually cries at loud noises right now when he gets scared. And that happens quite often around my family. And so Watson will be sitting there just hanging out, and then somebody will slap something down and scream or do something and laugh real loud, and he'll look at you with the most pathetic look. And he'll scrunch his face up like this. And then scream, just start crying like crazy. And I'm like, my first thought is like, dude, you're going to have to get over that because the loudness is not going to quit. So he'll learn. But I remember grabbing him and holding him, and immediately his crying stops. The loudness continued, the laughing continued, the loud noises continued, but his crying stopped. Why? Because he knew who was in control. He knew, okay, I'm okay now because Dad's got a hold of me. And so all of a sudden now the stuff around didn't matter as much because he understood who's got control of my life. And I'm wondering if we understand who has control of our life, and the stuff that's happening around us won't matter as much because we realize my life is in the palm of God's hand. My life is surrounded by God's sovereignty. My life is surrounded by who God is in my life. And it doesn't matter if there's junk going around. It doesn't matter what the government says. It doesn't matter what the economy says. It doesn't matter what the political thing is going around. It might be swirling around like crazy, but God has control of my life, and I am content. I'm okay. I don't have to worry anymore. Now, another thing with my son, real quick, that we're going to try to teach him. I don't want to have to run and grab him every time he cries. And so now even when he starts to cry like that, I've been trying to talk to him and say, Watson, it's okay, I'm here. So he hears my voice. because I want him to understand that even though I might not be wrapped around him, I'm still right here, and it's still okay. Some of you might feel like God isn't close to you right now, but I want to let you know he's still right here. He's still right here. Some of you need just to hear his voice and be like, it's okay, God's here. It's okay. I might not feel all the feels right now, and I might not have all the emotional goosebumps, but I actually hear his voice, and I know it's okay. I know I can trust him because he's in control, and he's leading my life, and I can trust him even though I can't see him, and I can trust him even though it feels like he's far away. God is right here in this room, and God is right here in your life, and he hasn't left you, and he won't forsake you, and he won't forget you. I love this scripture in Deuteronomy chapter 31. It says, so be strong and courageous. Come on, church. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not panic before them, for the Lord your God, not a God, your God, will personally go ahead of you. He will neither fail or abandon you. He's not going to let you go. It does not matter what is going on in your life. God has got you. God is behind you. God is surrounding you, and he will personally go for you. That is the God we serve. So we can what? Be strong and courageous. Run with endurance. God's got this, and he's got you. We can trust him. I know some of you feel like, man, I'm just lost right now. I don't know where to turn. I want to let you know, even though you feel lost and you don't know where to turn, God's right here at this moment. God's speaking to you. The Spirit of the living God is in this room, speaking to each and every one of you. No matter how far you've been on the journey, no matter how much you've forgotten, no matter how far you've run, no matter how many mistakes you've made, he's got you. God's here. If you would, let's stand to our feet, church. Come on. Man, I don't know who that's for. Be strong and courageous. I don't know who that's for. I don't know who is feeling like they're weak and wanting to quit. But I feel like God is looking at you right now. I don't know if there's 3 or 4 or 10 of you, but I feel like God is looking right through your heart, right through your fancy Sunday morning, right into your soul, and saying, be strong and courageous. I'm here. Be strong and courageous. I'm here. I do not know how many of you need to hear that, but I do know that God's speaking to some of you right now. Be strong and courageous. If you would, let's bow our head, close our eyes, and I'm going to pray in just a moment, and then we're going to worship. But everyone, just bow your head, close your eyes, just you and God. If this is you, you've run so far.